So we shall continue the discussion. Just I would like to elaborate that the things are so vast, so versatile that whenever I want to explain some point, the associated points lead to like a linked list, and it is an infinite leaf node linked list where on every aspect most of the times I am tempted to explain the details. So just I would like to take a recap. We started discussing on Rajya Sabha first because as I had stated that it is one point which not many people know in detail. Then based on that Rajya Sabha we came to Constituent Assembly, then many things, then structure, the number of seats, then Lok Sabha number of seats, then whether all are single member seats which are there today, but because of reserved constituencies, earlier they were composite constituencies, then reserved seats, and then we went to McDonald Award, Pune Pact and all these things. Anyway, as I had already stated that since it is a non-credit subject, number one. Number two is that the objective of the discussion is to make you conversant. Number three is that the structured material, structured lectures are already available on net. So myself deviating in the discussion should not be treated as so severe problem, but still I will try to contain. Then we will make a note that this we need to discuss later, and that time we will elaborate and keep the track of the main discussion. But anyway, we had come to a major point of the implementation of reserve constituencies in case of or in light of Pune Pact. So a compromise formula was worked out, and somehow the solution was arrived at. I will just explain it in short, because if I decide to go in detail of that, then it will take much more time. We at some appropriate other occasion we will come to that point. Also, how the Lok Sabha seats are allotted, what is the context of population, then 1976 amendment, freeze or delimitation, those are also the points which I would like to elaborate again, because that is a very fundamental thing that will differ to some point. Right now we will come to Rajya Sabha, and just by winding up the discussion momentarily of the Pune Pact. So it was arrived, the contentions were, Gandhiji was of the opinion that separate electorate will give rise to separatist feeling, whereas Dr. Ambedkar was of the opinion that if there is a common electorate, then the purpose of reserving the seats for scheduled caste people will be lost, because they would be tempted again to woo general voters and would not be focusing on welfare of the scheduled caste. So a compromise formula was worked out that there will be common electorate, seats will be reserved. Caste, when I say caste Hindus, I am using the terminology which was prevalent that time. So I am sure that everybody of us is mature enough that during the discussion it is very much required that we have to refer some historical instances, and while referring those historical instances we need to explain the situation which was prevalent then. So all our discussion is of academic purpose, and there is no question of any kind of views being favored or opposed otherwise. So I hope that everybody of you will be treating that discussion in its academic sense. So a compromise formula worked out like this, that what was the concern of Dr. Ambedkar, that because of dependency of the candidates who are contesting on all electorate, especially caste Hindus, they will be not much pursuant of the welfare of scheduled castes. Gandhiji was of the opinion that if complete separate electorate is formed, then it would be giving rise to separatist feeling. So a very well balanced compromise plan was worked out. It was called as, right now it is not there, but that time it was very effectively implemented. It is called as preliminaries. Means, say, just we can take an example. Say Solapur is the reserve constituency, where only a candidate from who belongs to scheduled caste can contest. But all people vote for him. So since all people vote for him, the apprehension expressed by Dr. Ambedkar is that he will ignore the very purpose of scheduled caste electorate in general. And Gandhiji said that we should not have separate electorate, there should be common electorate. So the compromise plan was, right now it is not, that practice is discontinued, that in Solapur only scheduled caste candidate or a person belonging to scheduled caste can contest. But who? Not anybody. Not anybody. What was concern of Dr. Ambedkar is that Ambedkar was that time, I quote that all these quotations and discussions should be taken in academic sense. Why Ambedkar was opposing the common electorate? He was of the opinion that time that the caste Hindus will choose some puppet belonging to scheduled castes and get him elected, and which will defeat the very purpose of reservations. So he wanted that a person, when there is reservation of seats, a person who is expected to represent scheduled caste should have a mandate within the scheduled castes. And Gandhiji was saying that it should not be exclusive on that. So compromise was over. So now in Maharashtra, say, or in any state, say there are total, let us say, for example, 18 constituencies, or in Maharashtra, let us say 48 constituencies are there. Out of 48, let us say that, just for the purpose of calculation, 8 are reserved for scheduled castes. Out of 48, 8 are reserved for scheduled castes. Then what is done is that, so like Solapur is one, then there may be some other. So 8 are reserved, 40 are general. So a pool is prepared of one reserved constituency and 5 general constituencies. So a pool of 6 is prepared. Such 8 pools are there. In each of these 8 pools, there is one reserved constituency and 5 general constituencies. Then all scheduled caste voters from this pool are expected to choose, say it was decided that 4 candidates. Those, see now, say Solapur is the reserve constituency. Then 5 adjoining constituencies to Solapur, which are general, forms a pool. That a pool is formed. Then before actual election for Solapur Lok Sabha constituency, those persons from scheduled caste who want to contest have to appear for preliminary, and then in this preliminary, scheduled caste voters from this entire pool, including Solapur and all other 5 also, only scheduled caste voters will give 4 votes each. They will put 4 votes each to 4 candidates which they think that are worthy to protect their interests. So for actual election, only these 4 candidates could contest. So from a pool of 6 constituencies, 4 candidates are chosen who can contest the actual reserved seat to which all voters vote. Scheduled caste voters in that region, in that constituency, and caste Hindus also. So a fine balance was arrived at. A fine balance was arrived at. But then the preliminary, even though it was a very perfect solution, which what we can say addressed concerns of both two legends, Gandhiji and Dr. Ambedkar, somehow because of this preliminary voting again and all that, it was found that it was hard to implement. So that was discontinued, and then it was decided that preliminary is not there, electoral will be common. But that time when the 1952 election took place, suppose that in Maharashtra there are total, let us take the same figures of today, let us say that time it was Bombay state, it was different, say that 48 seats are there and 8 are to be reserved for scheduled castes, that is the scenario. Then what was done actually that time, 8 was doubled to 16 and remaining 32. So 32 seats were single member seats. 32 seats were single member seats and 8 seats were double member seats. So if Maharashtra population, very carefully, because this is from engineering perspective, when you are engineering students, you should know fine aspects of few things. As I have already stated that the general classical constitutional history and all that is available in everywhere now. Means say 3 decades back, getting information was a problem. Now choosing information is a problem, and for that you need guidance. Otherwise, when you Google anything, bunch of information gets downloaded if you just have a click on it. So suppose that Maharashtra population was that time 3.6 crores. Just for example, 48 constituencies, so in each 7.5 lakh voter population was there, voters were less. So there were 32 constituencies with 7.5 lakh population and 8 constituencies with 15 lakh population. The 32 constituencies with 7.5 lakh population used to choose a single member of general category, anybody can contest. And on these 16 seats, on these remaining 16 members are chosen by 2-member constituencies. There were few 3-member constituencies also, making it more complex. So let us not discuss that is an exception, we leave it. But 2-member constituencies were there which had 15 lakh electorate, 15 lakh population. Why it was done? That time the logic would have been, it was done, and because of 2 members there was who is to give attention, all the issues might have been there, but that time the thing was one has to have a fine balance. Exclusively reserving a seat for scheduled castes that time, it might have been thought by the makers of the constitution, implementers of the system, that the general electorate will find that I do not have any representation there. So what they achieved a fine balance. In this fine balance, they achieved both principles, that for equal population, equal representation, scheduled caste got reserved seat, and general electorate also felt that yes, I have a say. So what they did, one reserved constituency and an adjoining constituency were amalgamated, and 15 lakh electorate, maybe 10 lakh. In general constituency there are 5 lakh voters. In joint constituency there are 10 lakh voters. 10 lakh voters used to give 2 votes. 10 lakh voters were used to give 2 votes, one in general category and one in reserve category. every voter used to give 2 votes. So uh, the general category aspiring candidates in that region also thought that yes, I can contest only in a wider constituency. So it was the situation during that time, but again, because of 2 members, such panel system is now was implemented on many occasions in local self body, just like municipal corporation, even in village panchayat, municipal council, it's still there. But that was discontinued in 1962. Then each time, I will be just winding up the House of People for 543, and then I will switch to that. So about this 543 seats, it was in the original constitution, the situation was that for 7.5 lakh voters, there is 1 seat. For 7.5 lakh voters, there is 1 seat. So when for 7.5 lakh voters there is 1 seat, in that case, that after each census, you must be knowing that there is a concept of census. After each decade, the entire population is again computed or counted. So after each census, the Lok Sabha and state assembly constituencies are to be redefined, that is called as a delimitation. Then in 1950, first was done in 52 election. Then after 61, after the census of 61, again they were redefined. After the census of 71, again they were redefined. Then during emergency, because of the drought which was experienced in 1972 and other issues, especially the congestion of people in cities and all that, and the growth of population. If you nowadays, you must have heard Spanish flu. So in 1901 to 1911, 1911 to 1921, when there was Spanish flu, the population rise was negligible. So and even in earlier 21 to 31, 31 to 41, the death rate was also very high. Birth rate was high and death rate was also high. But as there was progress in medical field, death rate started reducing and birth rate was maintained as it was. And because of that, there was huge population growth. And after 1971 census, it was thought that there should be some measures for population control. And when this population control policy was thought over, the political leadership and all thinkers that time were very wise, and what they did think that if population control is to be implemented, then the current policy of proportionate representation to population should be stopped, in the sense that state is a homogeneous administrative entity, and what will happen if states implement the policy in a better way and the population of those states which doesn't rise to a large extent, what will happen at the end of the day after new census takes place? The number of seats the state will have in Lok Sabha will reduce, because in other states there is a large population growth. So that time in 42nd amendment it was mentioned that there will not be any delimitation of Lok Sabha and assembly constituencies till the census of 2001 is published. So the seats were frozen for 77, 80, 84, 89, 9, all Lok Sabha. It was for 25 plus years it was frozen. Then after the 2001 census was published, it was decided that if now we again allot the seats as per the population, then Tamil Nadu, which has having a very nice track record of population control, will lose number of seats, and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, actually Bimaru was even not in a good sense, but it was a full form, it was a short form. Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. These states implemented population control, no doubt, but not to that extent. So the population increased to a large proportion. So Tamil Nadu will lose the number of seats and these states will have more seats. Therefore, it was again thought that till 2026 census is there, the representation of states should not be changed, but within the states there should be reallocation. So a delimitation exercise was carried out. All assembly and Lok Sabha constitution were changed in 2008, but with the same number of seats which existed prior as defined by 1971 census. Okay, anyway. So then this proportion or the representation of states in Lok Sabha is proportionate to population of 71 census right now, 543. Just like US House of Representatives. But in US Senate you have 100, all 50 states are having equal seats. But when it was thought of having a second chamber of Rajya Sabha, which is expected to have proportion from represented from states, it was thought, so in that sense it is not, at least in US, equal representation gives rise to a concept of federation, whereas in India, Council of States, state legislative assemblies represent the states in the council, in the Rajya Sabha, but it is proportionate to population again. So the proportion of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha seats is same throughout with some rounding of fractions. Say for example, 543 as to 245, that is 54 as to, just rounding, 54 as to 24, 6 nines are 54, 6 fours are 24. So 9 as to 4, proportion is 9 as to 4. Say Maharashtra, there are 48 in Maharashtra, there are 48 Lok Sabha seats. So 48 into 4 by 9, so there are 20 assembly seats. Sorry, there are 20 Rajya Sabha seats. So in Maharashtra is having 48 Lok Sabha seats. So 48 in, just by proportion, 48 into 4 by 9, that is 196 upon 9. That is in Maharashtra, with some rounding because smaller states, then you should say it should be 22. It should be 22 seats in Rajya Sabha, but Maharashtra doesn't have 22 seats. Maharashtra has only 20 seats in the Rajya Sabha. That's why, because small states, at least every state has to have one seat. So say for example Mizoram. Mizoram is having one Lok Sabha seat and one Rajya Sabha seat. So because of that, the ratio is somewhat further reduced and Maharashtra is having 20 seats. So in the Council of States, the representation is again proportionate to population size of the state, and therefore the concept of equal authority of state is defeated, which is maintained in US Senate. There are two instances where states are having some equal authority, that is in constitution amendment of some critical sections. For constitution amendment of some critical sections, we need 2/3 majority of Lok Sabha, 2/3 majority of Rajya Sabha, and majority in state legislative assemblies of not less than half of the states. So there each state is having equal authority. Similarly, you may be aware, may not be that aware, GST everybody knows full form, Goods and Services Tax, but there is a GST Council and the decisions are taken in GST Council by a majority, there is a special majority of 3/4, where center is having 1/3 share and states are having remaining 2/3, all equal. So in GST Council and for Constitution Amendment, there are these are some features where the concept of federation, all states are having equal rights. So this is Rajya Sabha. Now, as regards to Rajya Sabha, we will come to the discussion. It's how Rajya Sabha is constituted, how election takes place. But prior to that, a few key points of Rajya Sabha, its powers and limitations. As Rajya Sabha does not represent the Indian electorate directly, the Union Cabinet is not responsible to Rajya Sabha. It must command the confidence of only House of People. So, the government survives as long as it is having majority in Lok Sabha. So, just I would like to ask few questions. There is no need for me to mute. You can put it pause and then you can restart. If a government, and what happens, the structure of Rajya Sabha is made continuous, just like low pass filtering. You might be aware of filtering concept. I mean, mechanical students, they may be aware of some kind of filtering in vibration analysis and all that. They may be knowing, not necessarily, it's not so important. Filtering is slow changing, means what happens is that Rajya Sabha is said to be a permanent house, and after every 2 years, 1/3 members retire and the same are renominated. So, Lok Sabha election changes the composition of house instantly, but Rajya Sabha changes it gradually depending upon the state assemblies. Those means even after any state assembly election, the representation of that state in Rajya Sabha is not reflecting that. It reflects that to partial extent, so that any kind of changeover to take place in Rajya Sabha takes time, and that gives checks and balances, so that no hasty decision should take place. But at the same time, the writers of the constitution were aware that the government should not be made responsible to Rajya Sabha. There is no need of dependency on Rajya Sabha for government to survive. So, a few simple questions I would like to ask. You can put a pause and then think over it, and if you are able to think, check whether what you have thought is appropriate when I answer it. Otherwise, listen the answer. So, if a government is not having majority in Rajya Sabha, what are the implications? See, out of 543, the government, opposition and some neutral, it is also likely. Means what the neutral will do? This neutral will, on some issues they will support the government, on some issues they will be opposing the government. So out of 543, there is 300, opposition is 175, and remaining, that is 78 and neutral. 78 So it is 68 are neutral. And in Rajya Sabha, out of 245, government is having 75, or let us say government is having 90, opposition is having 80, and neutral is 75. It is the structure, say. What will happen? What are the implications? Can the government function? Yes, because number one, it is responsible only to Lok Sabha, and when laws are enacted in the legislative, what we can say, functioning of parliament, a bill must be passed both in Lok Sabha and in Rajya Sabha. A bill must be passed both in Lok Sabha and in Rajya Sabha. But if a government has to run, it must have authority to spend. So there is something called a money bill. Money bill must be only passed in Lok Sabha. So if you are very much peculiar and checking net, then proceedings of the parliament, then you will find that when a bill is presented in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, if it is money bill, if it is general bill, it is presented and it is presented for passing in both houses. Whereas in case of money bill, it is presented for passing, and in Rajya Sabha, it is presented for returning. Means Rajya Sabha is expected to discuss on money bill but not vote on it. After discussion, it will return the bill with its views, if any, that Lok Sabha may consider or that Lok Sabha may reject it. So for money, the confidence is required only for Lok Sabha on the cabinet. For passage of money bill, majority in the Lok Sabha is sufficient. Rajya Sabha majority is not needed. But then the question would be, what about other laws? Any kind of other enactment. With money is not everything. There are other things. Say now you might be aware that new education policy is there, UGC Act, AICTE Act. This is now just like Farmers Act. Many things are there. So how these acts will be passed? How the bills will be passed? They will pass in Lok Sabha, obviously. But in Rajya Sabha, few may be passing if few neutrals support, and in some case they will not be passed. In that situation, then there is a provision of joint session. Now here I have given the numbers that in joint session there is as good as when we are think of joint session, that is the total, there are 5 plus 2, 788 members are there. Of that, here government is having 390. Out of 788, 390, and opposition, it is this. If all add up, then government would be 390 and opposition would be 398. And even in joint session, the bill will not be passed. Even in joint session, the bill will not be passed. And what is to be done? Then if it is so, then the government can't function. So in that situation, normally it is expected that Rajya Sabha, normally what happens is that unless there is very critical demand of the situation, the opposition boycotts voting and the bill is passed. But somehow on some single point, it was that opposition insists, then the bill gets defeated. That prevention of terrorist activities, POTA Act was defeated, POTA bill was defeated in Rajya Sabha. Then joint session took place in 2003, December 2003, and it was passed. But it is also likely that the government majority is very thin in Lok Sabha and it is in much minority in Rajya Sabha. Then what should be done? In that case, even if you go for joint session, it will be defeated. Then is it that the government should not function? No. The government can function based on, depending on ordinances. That ordinance is to be promulgated. It survives from the date of promulgation till the date which is 6 weeks after the session begins. So suppose if on 10th January the ordinance is issued. The parliament sitting starts on 10th March. Then from 10th March 6 weeks. So by say 22nd till